They say the best camera is the one that you have on you. Now, being a professional photographer, I don't always have my camera on me, but I always have my smartphone. I've been carrying around my Pixel 3 for the longest time, but with this new iPhone 11 Pro that came out, we decided to give it a try, see how good it really is. So today what we're gonna do is, we're not gonna talk about all the specs on this iPhone 11 Pro. There's tons of videos out there you guys can watch. What we wanna talk about today is the camera functions and how well that holds up. We're gonna compare it directly against the iPhone XS and also against the flagship Pixel 3.
One of the main features that this camera has is the three lenses, the three focal lengths. We got 52mm, we got 26mm, and we got 13mm. The ultra wide 13mm, and we were able to fit a full building standing right on a sidewalk, even with a little bit of sky above. It was actually pretty amazing.
Okay, so the first thing that we did with the new iPhone Pro is basically take a bunch of general shots with the three phones, the iPhone XS, the iPhone 11 Pro, and the Google Pixel 3. Now, this is vanilla settings, default, basically straight out of the box, and we just wanted to get a good sort of variety of shots between the three phone cameras. So when we basically took the same shot with the three phones, general vanilla settings out of the box, we found that there's definitely some back and forth between, which phone does the quote-unquote best, which delivers the most pleasing image, but we also saw some patterns between the three. I think first off, one thing that was extremely consistent was that the iPhone 11 Pro by far had the most detail. When we compared that to the iPhone XS, I mean, it's a really night and day comparison. There's way more detail in the iPhone 11 Pro. Comparing it to the Pixel 3, the Pixel 3 is great. I mean, in terms of the amount of detail that it's delivering, we got a lot of great detail out of it, but it just cannot touch the amount of detail that we're getting out of the iPhone 11 Pro. Now, in terms of the overall tone, what we were seeing between the two iPhones was a really similar color, much warmer, and also had a bit of a propensity, no, too much whiskey to, I can't say words like propensity at this point. Tendency.
Where did this bottle go?
Dude, did you just open that?
Drank the whole bottle.
The iPhone definitely had a tendency to provide a warmer image. It also had a tendency to lean more towards a greenish cast, just very mild, whereas the Pixel had a tendency to lean more to a magenta sort of cool look. Overall, I think I would say that just picking up the phones and shooting just general settings out of the box, it's a back and forth. And this is something, again, that we've seen between the iPhone XS versus the Google Pixel 3. One thing that is definitely consistent, though, is we are seeing far more detail out of the iPhone 11 Pro.
All right, so we're gonna talk about night mode, and gotta say, it's pretty night and day comparison here. This iPhone 11 Pro is amazing. Taking the photo in night mode is really fast. I've always loved my Pixel 3 for doing night vision, but sometimes you gotta wait a while. So when you look at the Pixel 3, when you're taking the night vision photo, it looks really noisy, but when you look at the iPhone 11 Pro, it looks crystal clear, it looks beautiful. After we took those photos in night vision on the Pixel 3 and on the iPhone 11 Pro, when you look on the screen, they look pretty similar, but once you zoom in, that's when you're gonna notice a difference. The iPhone 11 Pro handles the noise amazingly well. Now, in the past, when all you had was the iPhone XS and the Pixel 3, if you're gonna compare those two in night vision, the Pixel 3 is gonna be so much better because Pixel 3 has night vision. The XS didn't have it, but now with the iPhone 11 Pro, you have it, and they did a great job right out of the gate with it.
As professional photographers, when the first iteration of a portrait mode came out in a cell phone, we all kind of had a good chuckle. This is something that's really looking to fake the look of a shallow depth of field. We get nice bokeh in the background. Taking a look at the comparison between the iPhone 11 Pro and the Google Pixel 3, we can definitely see a lot more skin smoothing on the Google Pixel. I'm not really sure how I feel about this, but it is something that's built in, and for a lot of people, that's going to work really nicely. Let's look at the colors between them as well too. On the Pixel, we definitely have a blue, a much cooler cast, To my eye, the iPhone seems a little bit warmer, a much more natural look, and this is really what I would go for if I were picking one for myself. Let's take a close look at the subject separation now. The Google Pixel 3 with only one lens is doing a very, very admirable job, but you can see some computational errors and artifacting around the head, around the hairs. In the iPhone 11 Pro, we see the best iteration of this, I would call it not quite fake, but call it manufactured depth of field. So while this feature is the best iteration that we've seen thus far, it still can't quite hold a candle to a proper setup. And perhaps that's an unfair comparison, but let's have a quick comparison of the portrait mode on the iPhone 11 Pro and the equivalent setup on a mirrorless camera, this being our Sony a7 III with a Sigma 50mm 1.4 art prime lens. You can definitely see the difference between the two. If you were looking at these in a vacuum, you might never notice, but you can definitely see here the fall off is very different. We're just not quite there yet in terms of cell phone technology to be able to match this. Maybe we never will be, but this is for sure the best iteration we've seen of portrait mode in a cell phone thus far.
Okay, in terms of the HDR, which was giving us the most pleasing image, it was sort of a bit of back and forth. We weren't sure if it was the modes we were choosing. We seemed to have some of the images looking way better with the iPhone Pro, and then some of the images looking way better with the Pixel. I think that was to do with some of the images were being flattened out way too much. Even though there was more detail, it was a real flat look. Where the Pixel was choosing to use HDR in a better way, where it would give a more moody look, where you could maintain some of that contrast and not have a completely flattened image. Here we have an HDR street shot with the iPhone 11 Pro and the Pixel. And the 11 Pro just nailed it straight out of box, no adjustments in the settings. The less noise in the shot, more sharpness. We noticed side to side that this image was much more pleasing and much more detail. When we manually changed the Pixel to HDR mode, we still noticed that the iPhone Pro was still killing it in this image. There was way more detail on the sides. We noticed the tree had way more detail. We noticed the background had way more detail when we zoomed in. This just showed us what the iPhone can do by picking it up and taking it straight out of the box and taking an image.
Let's take a quick look at the video stabilization on all three of these cameras. First up, we're going to look at a side-by-side of the iPhone XS and the iPhone 11 Pro. You can see right away that the 11 Pro is definitely more stable, but what I think is more important than that, right away we can see that we have a slightly more stable image from the iPhone 11 Pro. Now looking at the iPhone 11 Pro versus the Google Pixel 3, it's pretty much the same story. On the Google Pixel, we have a little bit more shake, a little bit more jitter, and again, what I would call these warping artifacts on the edges, which we just don't see with the iPhone 11 Pro. Very smooth image, very stable, looks like it's on a gimbal, but this is both handheld.
Hold on, let's get a selfie here. Flip the camera around here. All right, let's all get in here. Oh, hold on. You know what? I think we need to go to the Google Pixel to get everyone in here. I'm sorry, guys, but
wide angle.
let's flip it around here. Oh, here we go. Oh, wait, what's that? Oh, there you go. Let's just zoom right in.
There we go.
We drank a full bottle. Okay, guys, take it easy on us.
Okay, guys. So, if there's one area where the Google Pixel 3 is actually a clear winner, it's with that front-facing camera. That wide-angle front-facing lens is it's pretty amazing when you're trying to get group shots. And that's basically the one thing that I would say, hey, if you want to find one area to improve next time, Apple, just add a wider front-facing camera. For everything else, though, I would say Apple's just knocked it out of the park. Now, we do know that Apple's going to be adding its Deep Fusion function to the iPhone 11 Pro pretty soon. I think it's going to be happening by the end of the year. But before that, we're actually going to get our hands on the Google Pixel 4 in a few weeks. And the moment that happens, you better be sure we're going to compare that to the current iPhone 11 Pro as well as the Google Pixel 3. So be sure to like and subscribe and make sure you don't miss that one. Thanks for watching.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What the fuck is Deep Fusion anyway?
I don't know.